Hello. This is a series of about the most important part of human life, education. The word education in English or in the Latin or Germanic languages does not convey the real meaning of the real a point of what we call education. Since God created the world in the holy tongue of Hebrew, that's what's called today, it's just is the tool of creation. That part of human life is called chinuch, which means to form and direct the person, a young person, man or woman, girl or boy, doesn't matter, into the right path in life. And in the word education is the word chai, life, living, something which is living. Education in what we are going to discuss is about how to lead and guide people, young people, and even older people, unfortunately, to proper conduct and proper way of life. Yes, there is such a thing. And it's not a virtual thing, and it's not everything is open, everybody is fine, everyone the same, and all things like that, which are incorrect and untrue. The main part of being a proper man or woman, adult, a proper participating member of society, private society all around us, and the world at large, and creation at large, is if the person is alive. Being alive does not mean that you scream and run and yell. That which is alive, says the Rebbe, moves. A living being move. Vegetation is also living, it grows. Even the inanimate is moving, or just we don't see it, and we're not always able to recognize that. But there are such things, inanimate things which grow and move and change shape and so on and so forth. Now we are talking about not just giving the young people skills, which is fine and important, or a profession, but a profession and skills don't teach anyone how to behave properly in society, how to conduct themselves in the correct way. And being a therapist, I ran into the lack of education and lack of chinuch, lack of guidance we face so across the board, and in very very deep expression of it, a lot in the areas of human relations, starting with, and unfortunately a lot of what I do involves around revolves around marital discord. Marital discord is a disaster for every member of the family because it hurts the children as well, and it causes a lot of uh, emotional, psychological damage both to the parents, but particular and the children, but particularly to the children if they are young. There's so many cases. There's no room to log them all in of people who were part of the divorce, such as an oldest girl, for instance, and it left a very destructive impression on that lady. Why? Because screaming and yelling, and she started thinking that she's the problem, and she was mistreated by both parents as part of the combat between them, and so on and so forth. Even and the next point, or the next topic, is education within the educational institutions. Again, I don't regard college and university as educational institutions, even though that's how they're commonly treated. I see them as skill providers or profession providers, but not conduct providers. And today, when everything is virtual and surface and external and not real, those things, skills, have suddenly become the real education, quote unquote, instead of guidance how a person should be. One of the reasons is that sometimes, maybe 50 years ago, at least in the Western world, so called, the basic tenements of life, courtesy, respect, proper behavior, proper conduct, proper dress, a proper attitude, addressing the issues to what they are and not to what they should look like. And a lot of this has been broken. Now, it being broken is just another step towards redemption for all of us, but that's another issue. The point is that what used to be regarded as extremely important in the basic tenement of human life, respect, courtesy, and self discipline, are no longer issues. Today, the solutions are very, very extraneous. That is to say, your child has a tantrum, which a lot of children do, depends on the situation. A tantrum has two or three reasons why it occurs: being spoiled, which is the main problem and the main issue, and being totally out of sense of self. That is to say, if I get something extraneous, some toy, some candy, something that I want, then I will be worth something. And the third, the normal relationship between parents and children, a power struggle. Children will always test you, will always try to get more, not necessarily want it, they just want to have, so to say, I'm here. Since the society has become so open that it doesn't have any proper boundaries, so open that its brain can fall out, then the parents themselves many times are not in the position to guide their children. We take so much from the virtual world, from someone else, from some unknown source, and so much negativity, violence, and horrid ideas and conduct are being poured into the mainstream that a lot of time the parents themselves are totally out of their normal proper behavior, cannot teach the children because of their own stress, because they grew up in proper guidance or lack thereof altogether. And as a result, and as a result, there is a lack of education internal generation, a lack of education. That is to say, from generation to generation, there is no guidance. Today, desires are mainstream. The child wants this, the child wants that. Young ladies are encouraged to be bold, expressive, immodest, just to get what they want. Human relations have become I take, and there's a lot of stress and a lot of fragile, a lot of cracks in fragile humans in human structures, such as workplace. Everything is revolved around competition. I'm better than you, which is just illogical. There's no such thing. We're all human beings, and I'm better in this, and you're better in that, and there's nothing than this false, fake competition is so destructive. It brings people even to fight among themselves at home, who is making more money, or supposedly so, and who's more important, supposedly so. And sometimes the parents are so busy trying to prove themselves in the outside world that the children don't get at all. They don't get their attention altogether. They barely see them, and unfortunately, with this the situation today, A lot of time the woman isn't at home, at least as much as the man isn't, or even sometimes more. And therefore, there is no education. I walk around, I've been traveling, I've been in many places, and people are not educated. They're not properly behaving, they don't take care of themselves, they're not informed of what's right and what's wrong, and everything is everything aspires to the lowest common denominator, and lowest common denominator cannot be the way to go for everyone. Dress is, very unprofessional, unrespectful, and people go on the street in forms and in clothes which make them look less than what they really are. The point or the main issue here is that it's very important not just to be tolerant and to accept everyone and to allow everyone to participate, but their guidance behind that, the ideas behind the proper conduct are all gone. Today, the mainstream allows criminals and even sexual criminals, even murderers. You can't say anything. You're not allowed to open your mouth. And if people watch YouTube, and a lot of young people do, and if there is no proper protection there, then they see ads and things exposed just on YouTube, the most horrid things. They're led to believe that virtuality and is the way to be. And there's a lot of issues of violence, a lot of situation where people break families because they believe that they don't need anybody and they can manage themselves on their own, some sitcom or some movie or whatever else they were watching. In short, and in one sentence, we push God out of the equation. Not that you can, but we ignore His presence and we ignore His guidance, which is the only way to go. My view and my advice to all, including to myself, I had this situation. And for many, many years, I was a miserable little person with all kinds of issues and pain, stemming from an unpleasant upbringing and other situations which occurred after that, which is not uncommon. And the way out of this is to understand one basic idea and one basic rule, which is paramount. It is so important that it is in the cornerstone of every issue in human psychological and physical health and stability. And that is that since God created you, you're fine. No matter who you are and what you are. And I am, sorry to say that, appalled by all this focusing on a color and things. What difference does it make? If a person is good, he's good. No matter if he's Hispanic, black, white, Jewish, Irish, from India, China, or whatever. That is one of the worst things that society and the enemy of society, which is media, are focusing on. And all this separation, I'm better than you, you better than me, it's all artificial and it's all extraneous. If you play a certain game and you win, does not make you any better than the other person, because it's just a game. We're not looking to be better, we're looking to be happy. Human beings should be happy. And for what I notice, and I'm not the only one, of course, human beings around the world are miserable. Corona is not the plague. Solitude, loneliness, and misery are the plagues. And as a result, there's a lot of violence stemming out of this. Person becomes violent a lot of the times because they feel horrible and they see no way out. And they have a lot of anger and frustration accumulating. And if they're using all kinds of substances, legal or illegal, it just makes that emotional storm within the person stronger and more directed towards the explosive solutions, which are no solutions. So the basic rule is God created you, you're fine. Hence, There is a lot of positive outcomes from that very simple but extremely important and deep understanding. Okay, you say to me, you're a rabbi, you believe in Jew, you believe in God. Well, most of the people in the world don't. First of all, everyone believes in some kind of a high power. And everyone knows that there's someone above us. Many, many people express it in various ways. You don't have to be this or that to be part of God's creation. You were created, no matter who and what you are, by the same being that created me or anyone else. And because he is not, that is a man or not, and all this feminist nonsense, because God, forget genders for a moment. God created us, we are fine. It is us who see things that are not fine. Why? And that's the main thing that's the main problem a lot of people have. If you haven't so-called succeeded, you don't have 3 houses and 62 cars or whatever, like I've seen a lot of people who are very rich because they were successful, and in certain things like movie stars, some of them are such bad actors that it's a shame to even see that. I don't watch movies, but in my youth, I watched, and most of the people are saying were very bad actors, and the line of the story was very boring. They get rewarded in a most exaggerated, extravagant manner. Musicians. Today, you don't have to be good at anything to make a lot of money. Sports figures, some kind of, and even more, even worse, in my opinion, all kinds of reporters who many times just lie and bend the truth, just so the face could be seen on some screen. This is not helping anyone, even though the people supposedly make a lot of money and supposedly are successful. If people will take a temperature of misery around us, it will almost touch the red line at the top. Because people need more than just few letters after the names or empty titles or empty statements. Everything is being exaggerated and blown up in such a way that reality had been twisted and lost its feet, supposedly. So what my point really is, the basic idea, the basic beginning for returning to sanity and good health is, you name it any way you want. You say whatever it is that you want. But there is a power above us, and God is that power. There's all kinds of names and all kinds of languages and cultures. It doesn't really matter. But once we understand that there is a creator, a higher power than us, that equates us, in other words, he created us all. He lets us all live. And we forget. It's not the doctors who decide whether the person's going to pass away or not. Their hands are completely tied. Doctors don't know as much as they're supposed and pretend to, which is extremely dangerous, and I see it in some of my clients who have been prescribed strong psychotic drugs and medications which simply destroy them. Recently I managed to minimize the dosage one of my clients takes, and he feels better. It's a different person. No one says that the drugs are not necessary, but we're like butchers to each other with all kinds of things, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, and most with medication. The Western medical system is so insensitive and does not relate to the person at all. It only relates to what they see, the blood tests, and all kinds of numbers on the computer. But a human being is, first of all, structured from the soul. The soul is the main part of being a person, not the body. And therefore, when the soul does not receive its dosage of love, care, recognition, and simply acceptance, a lot of times, I remember myself as a child, I felt totally unaccepted because the situation was as such. But in many ways, it wasn't really true, but it was the way I felt. I deal with a lot of people who are very downtrodden on themselves and feel very bad and are insistent to continue feeling bad. And they're running away from that which will make them feel better. We all do that, and that's why this evil inclination is called evil, or in Lashon HaKodesh, in the Holy Tongue, the evil inclination, the bad inclination, because it makes us feel bad. And for example, people who are good at music, the inclination will pull them away from it so they can feel negative. And because we think we run our lives and we run the world, if something happens not according to our plan or what we feel is a failure, or to use the famous chess word blunder, which I don't understand, or commentators who can say that the world champion blunders, I mean, it's nonsense. I mean, I don't remember all these commentators beating Carlson even in a sneezing context. But today we've become so tiered. It's a tier of imaginary false tier of I'm better than you, you're better than me, and comparison. In such an atmosphere, the children feel that they don't have a chance in the world if they don't have all these titles and if they don't have all these things in after their names. And I said to my students, okay, you want a university. My late father-in-law is a great example. He was a civil engineer and a very good one, a very famous one. Did a lot of awesome things. May he rest in peace. But he was two of 29 people who graduated from that class. He and another fellow were the only ones who actually worked in that profession. Now, he was super brilliant and tenacious, so you could see that. The other person was more of a technical person, but the rest of them labored. This is one of the most difficult professions in university to acquire. Labored for years, taking 6-7 courses a semester, a heavy load, and never got to be civil engineers. Maybe in an area which is similar to that, adjacent to that, maybe in some kind of quality control, what have you, but not really doing what he, may rest in peace, did, which actually to build buildings and bridges, all kinds of things. And he was a very large owned a large construction company. But he was one of two people of 29 who actually reached that. So you can go to university, acquire a profession, and you won't find any job in it. Not because you're not good or yet you are good, but the situation around you outside the university in that particular profession has changed. So if you're not equipped with the proper guidance how to live, crises and changes may find you wanting and unprepared. And therefore it is extremely important for every parent and any parent, first of all, to do the work on themselves. So many people around the world have been abused, misused in horrible ways. All the spectrum of kind of abuses that human being can, God forbid, experience. That's not a reason to have the rest of your life angry and disrupted and fighting and arguing, or overweight, or taking substances, ruining yourself forevermore because at a certain point of your young life you were not treated correctly, you weren't well. And therefore it's very important for all of us, take a step back, take a deep breath, look around us at this wonderful God has given us, and get away from this terrible negativity the media had installed in us. let's say, for example, there's a plane crash, God forbid. We never thank God for the millions of flights that go around the world in any direction, any time of the day that take off, fly, and land successfully. We only focus on that crash. The crash can come from human error, from some mechanical failure, terrible storm, misunderstanding between the pilot and the the airport they're approaching, but they don't happen all the time. We all focus only on the negative. What is called news is actually a whole list of bad things, and it's ignoring the good. Even if a person is a reporter standing behind a beautiful new hospital that for years they were crying was this that city never an hospital, they wouldn't say a good word about the new hospital. They wouldn't say it. The whole idea is we are gearing ourselves. Media is just a reflection of how society is. For the low left corner of the picture of life. In this context, how can you educate your children to be happy and successful as people, not as some kind of a profession? I had a discussion with someone. I asked him, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm a lawyer." I said, "No, first of all, you're a human being who practices law. Lost the humanity. And when you don't have your humanity, you're not happy and you're not well. First step in education is self-education to restore our own humanity. Education is probably the hardest part of human life as parents or as children. And we know that over all the history that we know and that is in memory, people have struggled to try to raise the children. Yours truly love nature and especially tigers. Mommy tigress growls at a huge son to teach him. All animals have to raise their kids too. And there's tiger education, which is growls, small bites, making faces, moving the tail in an angry way, or guiding the children, follow me, we're going that way now. The same goes for us. We have all the ability to be educated ourselves in our life and teach our children. It's all the ingredients are inside of us, but we ignore them. We go astray and we wayward towards some kind of fake identity, fake, unreal form. Image is more important than who you are. Selling, advertisement. I asked someone who deals with advertisement. I asked him a question. He didn't like it at all, I must say. So tell me, how can you publicize and put all these ads and all this kind of thing and work on all kinds of themes and all kinds of imaginary nonsense on a product you don't even know what it is? Is it good? Is it bad? You don't care. You get a list of what you have to advertise. But don't you think there's an element of deceiving? You're deceiving the people. You don't know what that product is. And we also don't know who the advertising. They don't know anything about the product. And today people are so vain to say our product. I say that this is good. How do you know? It's called don't blow your own trumpet. The outcome of all this is massive loss of way and a very tragic confusion. There's a lot of people who are miserable. I hear from young people a lot of the time. Oh, I'd rather get drunk and, drown my discomfort in, I don't know, drugs, light drugs, heavy drugs, or drinking, or the common, North American, worldwide these days, avoidance tactic, traveling, flying around. It's not going to help anyone. We must address the issue itself. Why do we feel so negative? Why do a lot of people feel so bad? In my profession, I find so many people divorcing and splitting up or having a very miserable life within the institution of marriage, not because it's not working, because they are wanting to keep their corner their way, and there's no communication and no addressing of the other person's needs and wants, and there's not enough work done to find the common point and the common issue or a common ground that can help the parents build their home together. A lot of men, and today unfortunately a lot of women too, are focused on their own what is called career, or I don't know, toys, expensive toys, hobbies, or what have you. And because people are self centered and they're so busy with things other than the human relationship, there are no good human relationship between a lot of people and the surroundings. And that is tragic. We are, especially in this part of the world, we have a bounty of goodness, food, and freedoms, and we don't take care of it. We don't take advantage of it, and we don't have a good life because, as it is a situation, can afford us because we're so busy being something else and someone else, imitating this, imitating that, avoiding our pain in a variety of ways. For the conclusion of this introduction, I'd like to say that there's always hope. But the person has to let that hope be expressed in their life. And if it isn't, yeah, then the situation is as we see. I don't believe that people want to live an unpleasant, unhappy life. But many times when I try to talk to people to change something, I run into a wall. Habitual behavior can be the worst prison. Let's go back and let God in our life. He created us. He gave us this fantastic world. He gave us incredible internal inner powers to do a lot of great things. He also allows us and gives us ways to train ourselves to have a wonderful human relationship with everybody, just about with everybody we meet. It doesn't have to be 100%. And today I see all kinds of exaggeration. This woman is a super mom. This person is a hero because he crossed the street. We should bring ourselves also down to earth. Stop using all these exaggerated modes of behavior and statements over the simplest thing. We don't have to be winners. We have to be happy.